Most agencies still run the same book a call funnel they built 3 years ago. And it kind of works, but what if I told you you can actually 4x your book calls with one very simple change, namely personalization. So in this video, I'll show you the adaptive quiz funnel that helped one of our agency customers go from 50 to 100 grand a month in under 30 days and book 65 qualified sales calls in just 7 days. Just a couple of weeks ago, during one of our masterminds, Anis, who runs an agency for healthcare businesses, told me he grew from 50 to 100 grand a month in under 30 days. And naturally, I had to ask how. His answer was he replaced their book a call funnel with an adaptive quiz funnel and it booked 65 qualified sales calls in 7 days. No complicated integrations, no crazy follow-ups, no 47-step webinar funnel, just one adaptive quiz funnel built in less than a day actually, and some simple meta ads. And that's exactly what I'll walk you through today. I'll show you how the adaptive quiz funnel works, the exact flow Anis used, and how you can build it for yourself, and last but not least, the meta ad strategy to actually launch it. And with that being said, let's jump right in. So here's what the funnel that most of you are likely running right now looks like, right? So you have some form of result-driven ads sent to a landing page. On that landing page, you're reinforcing your service or reinforcing your direct offer. Then you send that traffic through a qualification quiz. If you don't have that in place, highly recommend you do. And if the lead is qualified, they're sent to an opt-in or calendar page. If they opt in, then they see a thank you page that just reinforces why it's important for them to show up to the call, right? If they're not qualified, then you send them to a not qualified page and have some form of disqualification logic. And I want to be clear, these classic book a call funnels, they still work, right? So every single week I get to see many agencies that still run exactly this type of funnel and get amazing results with it. But there's one simple concept that we can apply that actually is able to quadruple the results that you get from the book a call funnel, and the change is not even that drastic, right? So the principle that I'm talking about is that the more specifically you can name the customer's problem, the more likely they are to buy from you. So in short, personalization. And what you'll see here, the adaptive quiz funnel is actually just the evolution of the classic book a call funnel, and there are not that many changes to make sure that it's actually performing way better. So we again start with result-driven ads, right? So in any B2B context, I always recommend focusing on the results because that is what businesses actually care about. They usually care about how much money you can make them or how much time you can save them, right? These are essentially the only two things that they care about. So we continue doing exactly that, but then we head to the landing page, which in this case is a quiz landing page and not fully focused anymore on just the call to action, on just the offer for the service, right? So then we want to send that traffic to a quiz landing page in this case. And when you take a look at this example right here, you'll see that the actual value proposition also is drastically different from the one that we had before, right? So if we quickly compare that, right here we're saying 10 plus qualified appointments per week, or we work for free. Down here we're saying get a personalized plan to generate up to 50 appointments per week. And the main difference is that this right here is a value proposition that only somebody will consider that it's actually ready to partner with a service provider to solve the problem or to get them more appointments, right? Now, if we take a look at the other example right here, this is something that anybody could explore, even though they might not be in the market right now for a service provider. So inherently, just by repositioning the funnel a little bit and repositioning the value proposition a little bit, you will get cheaper leads and you will get more leads, right? Now, one of the most important things right here is that you can see we already have a quiz question in place because our main goal immediately is to drive people into the quiz as fast as possible, because we know that once people answer the quiz, they usually never drop off until the opt-in point, right? So we just want to make sure that this first engagement, the answering of that first question, is super easily done. And that's also why we have a very simple question in place. This might not even be relevant for the lead data that you collect, right? So we're just asking if you have an existing business or not, but you really want to make sure that you just drive people into the quiz as early as possible. Other than that, we have a little bit of social proof right here, but that is really all the magic, right? And there's also nothing below the fold that you can't see in the screenshot right here. So that is already the first change. So we open up the value proposition to just speak to a broader audience. In this case, get a personalized plan to generate up to 50 appointments per week. And one last note on the landing page here, we already frame and set the expectation that there will be a personalized result for people when they run through the funnel. So that is already also super helpful when we look into the page-to-page conversion rate later down the funnel. From there on, there are a couple of questions that I would recommend you ask, and I'll show you an exact example of the funnel being built out or how it would look like built out in a second here. But the 3 questions that I recommend you have at a minimum is, first of all, the industry question. That is super helpful also for pre-qualification for your sales team, for yourself, right? And also for personalization. Then the goal question, which is also important for you to just gauge what is it really that they're desiring, what do they actually want to achieve. And then the current question, which just helps you gauge a little bit better what the current gap is between where they want to go and where they are right now. And if you listen to any sales or marketing advice, then you know that one of the key learnings there is to always try to separate your potential customer from their desired solution as much as possible and make it really hurt, right? You want to reinforce the pain point as much as possible because then they're more likely to actually want to solve the pain point, which makes a lot of sense. So then we collect this data through these questions. Then we have an opt-in page right here. There's also one cool hack for conversion optimization that I'll show you in a second. But then from there on, we lead to 3 different VSLs on the basis of their answers. And this is really where the magic happens, right? Because now on the basis of their answers, we can show them a couple of different VSLs or the right VSL for exactly their situation. Now, one of the main objections that I get is, Niels, it's always so hard to produce video. I'm not super comfortable in video. I'm not sure if I can actually spin up VSLs. My recommendation is always don't overthink it, right? You can bang out the 3 10-minute VSLs with Loom in 30 minutes, and they don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be super well scripted. They don't need to be extremely perfect direct response copy. Just go and create a video because it helps with trust later. Now, that being said, you can also get away without video, and why I'll show you in a second, because on these pages, we really home in on that personalization point. Then on these VSL pages, we allow people to book the call, and after they have booked the call, we lead them to the thank you page, again, to reinforce why they should show up in the first place. Now, the difference between these two funnels is basically responsible for doing this to Anis' numbers, right? So in the last 7 days, by launching this funnel, he took his opt-in rate from 8 to 14%, his booking rate from 12 to 27%, and booked 65 qualified sales calls in 7 days. And if you quickly do the math, right, that is 4 times more calls that he's booking now. So let me actually show you what that looks like in a live version. So Anis has built out this funnel in Perspective. Why? Because Perspective comes with a mobile first layout. So we designed for 90% of the paid social traffic that we're getting, right? Since 90% of paid social traffic is coming from mobile devices, then we get fast loading speeds out of the box, and this interactivity and personalization component is implemented in a split second. So I'll show you exactly what that looks like. Again, we have that first page right here. Nothing more to add. I've already broken it down during the overview. Now from there on, we have a couple of questions, right? These have a couple more questions, and I'll get to the reason for why we want to potentially have more questions. So we lead to that first question. First question is, what describes you best? So that is the profession or the industry, right? Especially if you serve a broader audience, super helpful for you in pre-qualification as well. But generally speaking, this is also super, super powerful just for the personalization component. Then we ask for the goal, right? So in this case, what is your goal for appointments per week? 50, 100, 150, 150 plus. Now this really depends on the type of client you're serving, or exactly what service or what result you're delivering, right? Then we ask for the current situation. So how many appointments do you currently get a week? Then we ask for strategies that have been already tried. This can also be used in personalization later. In this example, we haven't used this, but you can essentially ask for the pain point, right? So what strategies have you tried before that didn't work out? So you could append that to your value proposition, and it will make a lot of sense when I get to the result page here in a second. Then we have a city question, which is really, really powerful for anybody of you that is serving a local audience. Again, the more specifically we can call out a customer, the more it will resonate with them. So please implement that as well if you do run ads to a local audience. And then we have a loading page. Now this is a nice little hack to up the perceived value that customers have or visitors have when they run through this funnel, because we basically just redirect people to the opt-in page after they have been sitting on this page for 4 to 8 seconds, right? And it just says, please wait while we check your answers. This only takes a few seconds. Again, just giving them the feeling that this is a personalized result, so it's really something made for them, which again increases the perceived value, and then in turn also the opt-in. Now, after the redirect, they're led to the opt-in page. Very simple, very straightforward setup here. Please enter your information to receive your personalized action plan. First name, email address, phone number. And then from there on, this is the coolest part, we have a couple different VSLs that you can see here, right? Now you can see based on the naming, these have been split on the basis of their industry. Now, if I, for example, hit the coach one, you can see that looks a little bit funky what we have on the page right here, but this only looks as funky because we're using all the variables that the customer or that the visitor just has passed on to us in the quiz to display it back to them, okay? Now, in terms of the different VSL splits, you can, of course, also personalize the video on the basis of their answers, in this case, by industry, to make sure that it really, really resonates with them, or they're actually getting a personalized result that speaks to them and is most valuable to them. But the most important piece here is that we're just showing them exactly what they have told us about us, right? So in this case, it says, hey, here's your personalized action plan, how to go from how many appointments do you currently get a week? Guess what, right? So how do you go from your current position to what is your goal for appointments per week? So to 150 appointments, for example, as what describes you best, coach, agency, right? All that in less than 30 days. So that is really where the value proposition comes in that we usually would run on a book a call funnel. But because this is so hyper personalized now, we can see numbers, we can improve conversions as much as Anis did with his funnel. Now, the coolest part here is as well, this entire page is super, super simple, right? So we only have the headline here. We have the video playing right here. So that is the VSL where we also want to break down our offer, implement a bunch of proof. So classic VSL structure would be recommended here. And then all we do is, hello, first name. This is Niels. If you'd like to help us, help you get up to whatever your goal is, right? As whatever your industry is, in whatever your city is, if you're also selling to a local audience, remember to book your appointment below. Then we set up the appointment right here with Calendly, Cal.com, HubSpot, or GHL, whatever it is, and we're good to go. Then we, of course, when I have the thank you page, we can build that out to be whatever it needs to be, right? To make sure that people are actually showing up to the call. We also recommend running a VSL here, but that is outside of the scope of today's video. And so this is essentially where all the magic happens, right? So we can see all the pages are technically the same. The only thing that we will replace here is the specific VSL. Now, the coolest part is, you see, this is just 8 pages, right? And 4 more result pages, essentially. And you can literally spin this up from scratch in half a day. But of course, because we already have the proven template right here and it has been validated a bunch of times, you can just check the link in the video description to grab this template and load it up in Perspective and just tweak it for yourself and then launch it today. Now, if you wanted to build this entire funnel from scratch, this is also quite easily done, right? So you can see in Perspective, you get a bunch of templates right here. Now in this case, I would just want to start with a blank page to really show you how easy it is to produce this exact funnel in a couple of minutes, essentially. So what we want to do is we want to get a headline right here. So we just type, get a personalized action plan. So let's say we're targeting solar installers. So our clients are solar companies and we want to get more of them as clients. So I would just say get a personalized action plan for growing your installations by 150%. Now the value proposition, of course, really depends on what you're able to say, right? As I said, I really would recommend for any B2B case to always make it result driven. We've tested 1,200 ads this year, unique ads, completely fresh scripts, right? And the result driven ones are usually the ones that crush it. And the same goes for funnels. So we want to make sure that is looking good. So we maybe adjust the sizing here a little bit. I think that breaks cleanest. And we can just remove that really quickly. And I'm not going to do some fancy design in here, but you can, of course, also customize this a little bit more. So in this case, I would just add a quiz question really quick, come over to interactive blocks, add the quiz. In this case, we want to have a simple yes or no question. So I'll just delete the two options here. Yeah, take a simple yes or no question. So are you a solar company? Boom. So we have that in store. Beautiful. Now, next page, we can just go ahead, duplicate that out. Boom, second page created. Now we can call that question 1. If we go back to the overview, right, we want to minimum have the industry question, the goal question, and the current question. So I would just come back to my funnel right here, make that the industry question. So let me just remove that headline right here, call it what industry describes you best. Boom, maybe let that break a little bit more nicely. There you go. So a couple of options that we have here, solar, of course. So this is just me improvising right here, right? But you can, of course, add as many options that you like. In this case, this is really just for pre-qualification. And if you're serving multiple audiences, then you, of course, want to break that up as well. So HVAC might be another one. So we can also come in here and just choose some of the different images, right? We could also just go ahead and grab Unsplash right there and then just choose whatever would make sense. So search for solar, just quickly pop that in here, boom, and do the same thing for the other ones. Exactly. Cool. Question 1 set up. Now we want to do question 2. In this case, that would be the goal, right? So in this case, I think a multiple choice question would be the best solution. So we just click on the plus right here and head over, get the multiple choice or the choice one in this case. Breaks a little bit more nicer if we have a couple longer answer options. So just remove that question. Yes, delete. There you go. Adjust that to how many installations would you like to get a month? So we have 30 to 60, 60 to 100, and 100 to 150. Now, one important note here, when we reuse the variables, we also want to make sure that the answer options actually reflect what fits our headline in a second. So that's question 2. Let's get question 3 done. In this case, that is the current, right? So we would just ask how many installations do you currently get a month? Maybe highlight that right here just to make sure that the question is not confused with the second one. And then we're already good to go. All right, so now we have the third question set up. All I would do now is I would just quickly create a new page to set up the loader page, right? So this in turn helps with the perceived value of the offer and helps us boost opt-in rate. So all we would do is create a new page. This one is blank in this case. Click the plus, head over to basic blocks, scroll down, find the loader one, click the check mark, boom, and we're good to go. Now the only thing left to do for the loader page is to install an automatic redirect. So we just come over here, set target page is the next page, 4 to 8 seconds. In this case, I would say 4 seconds is totally fine. And we are good to go. Last but not least, we need our opt-in page. Boom. Now in here, we of course want to start with the form, right? So we get to the interactive blocks, choose the form, boom, it already has email and phone in there. That is perfect. Now we can change that headline to be something more value proposition focused. In this case, we just say, where can we send the personalized action plan? Maybe add a little text element here to indicate that this was a success. So I would just go ahead, create a blue little text, make it bold, boom, center it, call it result ready, boom. Now I'm keeping this very simple, but you can of course go way more advanced with the design and make it really pretty, right? I'm just trying to demonstrate the concept right here. And as an aside, one very straightforward way to increase conversions is add more social proof, right? I haven't done that here on the start page, but you usually want to have it on the start page as well as the opt-in page. And one very straightforward way to do so is just quickly click on the plus again, go to the basic blocks and grab the review button or the review elements or the logo bar. Both of them work well. In this case, we just go with the review, right? Of course, we'd need to replace the pictures here, add the actual reviews and the actual review in general, and then we're good to go. But that is, as I said, a super handy way to just simply increase conversions. All right, beautiful. So now we have that set up. The only thing left to do is to set up the different VSL pages. So I would just come in here, create a blank page, call it VSL Solar, right? So if we want to split out by industries, move that up here, quickly build that out. And I'm just going to keep that very simple. Again, I would come in here, just choose the video. Boom, we have a video in here. Let me grab a nice headline. There we go. Increase the size. Cool. Now, it is very, very important that we leverage the data that we just collected within our quiz to display that back to the customer to get that conversion boost from our personalization, right? So the angle was the personalized action plan. So we want to keep that angle, make sure everything is very, very congruent in here. So now we would simply say how to go from at. That's how we enter the variables in the variable menu. Now we would just grab the respective question. How many installations do you currently get, right? Have a fallback text here in this case, maybe just 10. There we go. How to go from 10 installations a month to, and then add how many would you like to have. Boom. Maybe do 50 as fallback. Hit save and we're good to go, right? So this would now say how to go from 10 installations a month to 50 installations a month. Maybe we want to do some form of objection handling, right? So how long is it going to take? This is one of my favorites, right? In less than 30 days. Again, please only use value propositions that you actually can live up to, of course. Cool, so now we have the headline, we have the VSL. The last thing to do is, of course, to add the book a call option, right? So to do that, click on the plus again, head to interactive blocks, choose the appointment, hit the check mark again, maybe add some spacing up here, and we should be good to go. And now this is definitely not the prettiest page that I've built so far, and you can, as I said, go crazy with the customization and make it really yours, make it really on brand, and make it really pretty. But for the sake of today's video, I'll just keep it very simple. The only thing left to do now is to actually go ahead and set up the different VSL pages. So we just go ahead and duplicate that out, right? So we go and say duplicate. We rename this to one of the other business types that we had. So in this case, it might be cleaning. I want to do that one more time. Duplicate. And then we had the other option be HVAC. One thing that I realized now is, of course, it doesn't make sense for us to have the first question be, are you a solar company, if we actually ask for the industry. So we're just gonna go ahead and fix that really quickly. So we're just gonna ask, do you have an existing business? Easy and straightforward. Now we have 3 VSL pages for the 3 different industries. You can of course personalize these and have different VSLs on different types of data. It doesn't have to be the industry, although the industry is usually one of the bigger pieces that allows you to also adjust the messaging, right? And potentially have different services on the basis of the actual industry that you're selling to. Now we of course want to still set up the logic behind this so that different people also see different VSLs. So we're going to head back to our first question, choose the solar option first, and then you can see on the left hand side under linking, we have the option to select next page, which would basically define what page they're seeing next after choosing that option, or we have the result page that we can choose here as well. So that would allow you to show different result pages, but keep the chronological order of the different pages of that funnel. So in this case, we of course choose the solar one. We're going to do that for cleaning as well. And unfortunately that wasn't adjusted, but there you go. So we're going to do that for cleaning. And last but not least, we're going to do that for HVAC. All right. Cool. So that is set up. Now, generally speaking, depending on how many qualification questions and personalization questions you have, you can also go very, very crazy with this and have 10 to 15 different levels of personalization or different result pages that you're showing to customers. So depending on how big the audience is that you're serving and how granular you want to go, you can also have loads and loads of options, right? So what you would do to achieve that is just quickly click again on one of these options, head over to the linking, and then add the advanced logic. And then in here, you can concatenate as many rules as you like and make sure that everybody sees exactly what they should see. All right, then last but not least, we want to test our funnel. So we click on the preview. There you go. First page loads. Okay. Now I just see we haven't adjusted this right here. So I'm just going to go back, quickly do that. So of course a yes or no question, right? Boom. Yes or no. All right. Open the preview again. Here we are. Do you have an existing business? Yes, we do. We are definitely a solar company. How many installations would you like to get a month? All right, that's got to be 60 to 100. Currently, we have less than that. Of course, I haven't adjusted the question in here, but that would, of course, be necessary. So we say 30 to 60. We're validating the results. Okay, perceived value goes up right there. For seconds, we redirect it. Let me just quickly input the data right here. Hit submit, and boom, we have a personalized headline right there. How to go from 30 to 60 installations a month to 60 to 100 in less than 30 days. Beautiful. Headline works, personalization works, and we're good to go. And that is essentially all there is to it. Now, if you want the prettier and more advanced version, then you can just simply click the link in the description and load this exact template that Anis used into your free Perspective account. Now, the last question that we need to answer is, of course, how do we actually run traffic to this? And this is something that I quickly want to touch on. So we always recommend a very simple testing ABO and scaling CBO structure. I'll keep this short and then show you how to set it up in Meta. So testing ABO. What does testing ABO mean? ABO stands for ad set budget optimization, right? So we define the budget on the ad set level, not the campaign level. I'll show you what that exactly looks like in a second. We want to have not more than 5 ad creators per ad set. The budget should be 2 times the target CPA. Can be less than that, can be more than that. This is just a rule of thumb, but please do run whatever you're comfortable with in spending on ads. We generally suggest running on broad audiences. Lookalikes also work well, but broad audiences generally work as well. We always want to make sure that we run on a conversion objective. So that might be the lead or the sale, right? In this case, likely automatically delete. But I have many cases in the masterminds asking, I have loads and loads of traffic, but I don't have any conversions. And sometimes that is already where the system breaks, right? So when people run on the traffic conversion objective, not delete conversion objective. So we want to make sure it's always delete conversion objective. A winner is defined when we have 10 conversions at our target CPA, right? So if we want to spend not more than $20 per lead, then 10 conversions at $20 per lead, that is when we define a winner. And the loser is when we have spent 2 times the target CPA, so $40 in total, and there's no conversion. All right, cool. So that is the testing ABO setup. Let's quickly head over to Meta to set it up. Alrighty, first thing we want to do is hit the big create button. Now in this case, as I already said, we want to choose the leads conversion objective, hit continue, and the campaign will set itself up. Now we can click this away and then we can run through the setup, right? As I said, for the testing campaign, we definitely do want to make sure that we set the ad set budget, not the campaign budget. So we just click on here, make sure to uncheck that, because that is a very sneaky way for Meta to still run a campaign budget optimization campaign, although you want to have an ad set budget optimization campaign. That is what that looks like. Then within the leads ad set, we can go ahead and adjust the targeting in here, right? And the budget, of course. So in this case, if we have 2x target CPA as target budget, then we would just set that to 40. The rest of this can be exactly left as is, right? So this would be launched as a broad ad set. You can adjust the locations, of course. And the last thing that I would suggest you adjust would be the placements. So we click on show more settings, then we can see here the different controls and platforms that we can run on. The easiest thing to do at first is just go ahead and deselect the audience network, because generally speaking, it's lower quality inventory. Same thing as with the campaign budget optimization. We want to uncheck this one. Again, this would allow Meta to spend on the audience network, even though you have deselected it. So make sure to have that unchecked as well. All right. One thing that we of course still want to do is switch over to website in this case to make sure that we are able to send traffic to our new funnel. Then within the conversion event, we want to make sure that we have the lead selected, right? So we just grab the lead event from this one. I'll also show you how to set that up in a second, but then we should be good to go. Last thing to do is to set up the ads. I would recommend to always run on 5 ads per ad set maximum, right? And you can just simply run through, upload your creative, add the text, and you're good to go. The only thing that we do need to do here is just quickly come back to our funnel that we have previously built, go to the publish page, publish that funnel, grab the link, and then we take that link and paste it into our ad. Boom, that is done. All right, now to connect our lead event, we would come back to the funnel, head over to the apps section, and then simply click on Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, hit connect, and then you can see you need to paste your pixel ID here. Now you can find this pixel ID when you head over to the settings right here, or on the left-hand side, you'll find the events manager, and in the events manager, you'll find the pixel ID. Same thing actually with the access token for the conversions API. So you see here, there's this access token option. So we want to paste that access token in here as well. Many tutorials exactly on YouTube on how to exactly do that. And last thing we want to do is map the entry. In this case, one of our VSL page visits would be a lead, right? So we choose the VSL Solar, for example, go ahead and map that to the lead event. And then we do the same thing for the others as well. All right, that is done. We hit save settings. Of course, we would now need the pixel ID and the access token. So I'll just close that for now, publish again, and we are good to go. Beautiful. Now, most important thing is actually go and launch the ads, okay? So you want to launch that testing ABO that we have just set up. And then once you see some data coming through, you'll first of all see everything within the metrics tab within Perspective. We have 5 visits already here on our testing funnel, and you'll see the conversion rates over time, where people drop off in the different questions, right? So that is really insightful, and you can go and optimize the respective questions on the basis of these metrics. And now, once we have found an ad that actually works, so we want to check what the cost per lead is, and the ones with the best cost per lead, we want to take over to our scaling CBO. What is a scaling CBO? It's the exact type of campaign. The only thing that is different is that we're now spending on a campaign budget and not on the ad set budget. Why is that? Because we generally only want to have one or very few ad sets within a CBO campaign, and have most of our budget be spent exactly on those, okay? So we leave Meta more room for breathing and more room for deciding for itself. So what we want to do whenever there is a winning ad set found or a winning ad within an ad set from testing ABO, we just move it over to the scaling CBO by duplicating that ad set into the scaling CBO first. We set a budget that we're comfortable with, right? We want to have a maximum or the most budget on the scaling CBO, of course, because these are our highest performing assets. And then we just repeat the process and repeat that process over and over again. And when we see performance dropping in the scaling CBO, we can also go ahead and consolidate these ad sets together to just have as few ad sets as possible. That is the exact process that many agencies use to scale, and the exact process that Anis used to book 65 qualified agency sales calls in just 7 days. So now you have everything to replicate this entire funnel for your agency within half a day. And if you want to get a head start, then you can just grab the proven template from the video description below this video. It will grant you a 14-day free trial to Perspective, and the proven template will be automatically added to your account. And with that being said, have lots of fun building this. Can't wait to see the results that you're generating, and have an amazing rest of your day.